When the San Francisco 49ers selected Ricky Pearsall, number 31 overall in last year's draft, I think it surprised pretty much everyone. I don't think we were necessarily anticipating a wide receiver being selected there. And even if you were, I don't think anyone was anticipating Ricky to be the pick, himself included. He thought he might be drafted by the Chiefs. He thought he was going to be a second round draft pick. He talked about this on his podcast appearance with Deebo Samuel on Bleacher Report. But also on that podcast appearance, you also hear about why those two have been able to develop quite the strong relationship. And it starts back to when Ricky had gotten shot. And when you kind of listen and hear behind the scenes, it's pretty cool. So take a listen to what Ricky had to say, and we'll react to it on the other side.
You said after the Lions game, you had a very sweet moment after the Lions game where you said that you wanted Deebo to feel appreciated. Why did you want him in that moment to feel the appreciation that you feel for him?
Yeah, I feel like just the way he embraced me, like when I got in the building, and even like I hate to bring this up, but like back to the whole situation. I just feel like that was like probably like the darkest moment I've ever been in, probably the toughest moment I've ever been in. And, he was one of the only guys that showed up, and he was hanging out with my family, in the hotel room. So, just seeing that, you always say when you're in your darkest moment, you see who,
True colors.
Who really got your corner your corner,
Yeah.
and he's that guy. So, outside of football, I just knew he was, a guy I could trust and rely on. So when I got back in the building, it was just easy, to talk to him and, relate to him and have those conversations with him. And, and then to football, he's helped me along the way as far as, adapting to the playbook and, just being myself back out there, dancing with him and bringing energy because that's how I want to play football and that's how he wants to play football too. And for me, it just made me play my game, get back to that and, enjoy the ball again. So, for me, that's just why I was saying I want him to feel appreciated for sure.
My dog Rick, man.
For sure.
I love that. But that also, I think, speaks volumes about the type of person that you are. You're a great football player. We all know that. But also good people. And I think you felt that, and it was...
I definitely identified that.
And you also felt that from him, based on what you say about him. So
Man, I met Rick. We was turned. We was turned up.
For real, first time
I met Ricky. He was outside in the club. He was turned up.
And it was
fun.
from
He was
there.
about
From there, it
100
was
deep.
just... Yeah, it
He
was
was
just...
about 100 deep.
I love that.
But as they were talking about, it was revealed that, Deebo Samuel went in and visited him and hung out with him and is one of the only players to do that. And, I think that's pretty cool. And also, too, considering the context of Deebo Samuel was getting shopped in that draft class. He was, the 49ers were seeing what they could get for him. And, it didn't sound like anything was good enough for the 49ers to pull that trigger to trade Deebo Samuel. And so they didn't, but they still drafted a wide receiver. And with kind of what I assume the mindset to be to replace one of the wide receivers that were currently on the roster. Now we know that Brandon Ayuk was in a contract negotiation. And with that, he was also shopped, and we know that that's been well documented. So both 49ers wide receivers were floated in trades. Nothing ever came to fruition. So it kind of felt like, and we've seen this trend with the 49ers in the past, is that when they are going to move on from a player, they typically draft their replacement a year ahead. We saw it with Laken Tomlinson when he was heading into the final year of his contract. They drafted a guy by the name of Aaron Banks, and then they let Laken go. Aaron Banks fills that role. And they do that quite a bit, like Malik Mustafa a year ahead of, Talanoa Hufanga's negotiation. Renardo Green a year ahead of Travarius Ward heading into free agency. So they do this quite a bit. And we knew this year was pretty much a contract year for Deebo Samuel, just because he doesn't have any, from my understanding, any guaranteed money left on the final year of his contract. And as we've seen, the 49ers typically give out contract extensions around that time. You look at Christian McCaffrey last year and Trent Williams as examples. So the point being was that it seemed like Ricky Pearsall was kind of the pick to replace, uh, Deebo in a sense, because we assumed they were going to pay Brandon and keep him. They ultimately did, and when they did that, it was like, all right, this looks like it could be the final year with Deebo Samuel. So that being said, like a lot of guys could take that a certain way. Like they could totally, turn the other cheek to this guy who's coming in to potentially replace them and all these other things. And it sounds like that's the exact opposite of how Debo handled that situation. And it sounds like Debo turned out to be like a phenomenal, just a phenomenal asset for Ricky. And and I think that's really cool. I really do. And when I went to training camp and I was credentialed for training camp, I was standing on the sideline. I was actually standing right there when Ricky had hurt his shoulder and that knocked him out of training camp. And Debo was standing right in front of me. And Ricky Pearsall comes off to the field and he goes right to Debo and is just talking to Debo about how he landed on his shoulder and how it's just not feeling right. And they're just chopping it up. And you could see like there was like just a natural rapport between those two. And you could see that then in training camp. And so clearly Debo really likes Ricky. Um, they talk about his energy all the time. They talk about what he brings to the table and all that stuff. But again, like it didn't have to be that way. You know what I mean? Like it could have been something that Debo could have been, upset, like I said, but he didn't do that. And it's kind of why I like this podcast episode that he did. It really kind of like I feel like Debo looks completely different in this one, relaxed, um, just talking. And I feel like it reminded me like, all right, Debo is Debo's good, man. I know with that situation with the tweet, I've talked about it many times. Kind of put me off a little bit, but Debo's cool, dude, man. He's chill. Um, I know we can all get like wrapped up in the emotions of the season and like just get frustrated and angry. I got fans yelling at me, fans fighting in the comments. Everyone's yelling at everyone when things aren't going well. So it's easy to get like frustrated and all that type of stuff. And it's just like watching that podcast just reminded me, like, yeah, Debo's chill, dude, man. Like Debo's a real one, and and as we heard, they expect him to be back. So if he's back, and it's Ricky, it's Jawan, it's BA, and Debo, then let's go, let's ride, let's cook, and hopefully we'll see some good stuff out of that. So what did you guys think of it? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.